Good evening, everybody. It is 7 o'clock, March 16th. This is a special meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We will call this meeting to order and start with the roll call, please.
Member Ritter? Member Leister?
Here.
Member Nielsen?
Here.
Member Haller?
Here.
Chair Bradley.
I am here.
And we'll let the record reflect that members Vendor and Hanley are absent.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, the community development report. Scott?
Yes, there are not any items that the council has taken action on since our last meeting. However, a preview on a couple items. The variation request at 1086 Fisher is scheduled for Thursday night, along with the plat of subdivision and variations for 936 Sunset. And then additionally, there's a resolution for the village council to consider directing a text amendment regarding lots with corner lots with three frontages. As you recall, this came up as a appeal last summer. There was a ruling against the village on Friday on that, so that the village is taking action or potentially taking action on the text amendment.
Okay, thank you for that update. Anyone have any questions for staff on the community development report? Okay, we'll move then to agenda item 3, recommendations and determinations. Included in our packet was case number 2528 SU, otherwise known as 225 Sheridan Road, Centennial Beach. This is a consideration of approval of the findings and recommendations of the zoning board on that special use permit application to allow installation of fencing on the existing beach at 225 Sheridan. There's no presentation from staff on this? Okay. So did everyone have a chance to review the findings and recommendations that were included in the packet? If anyone has any questions about anything that was included in there, we could talk about it. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
That's Member Nielsen. Do I have a second? Member Ritter. All in favor say, no, roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Member Nielsen?
Yes.
Member Ritter?
Yes.
Member Leister?
Yes.
Member Haller?
Yes.
Chair Bradley.
Yes, by my count, the motion carries. The recommendation against approval is approved. And again, we're just a recommending body, so it moves on from here. Design Review Board, I believe, is next, and then Village Council. Okay, we'll move on then to agenda item 4, new cases, and we'll start tonight with our first substantive case, 2529 SD, otherwise known as 829 Foxdale Avenue and 833 Foxdale Avenue. This is an application seeking the final plat of consolidation and consolidate two existing lots at those addresses. From a zoning perspective, it will require two variations: the minimum side yard setback and the building line articulation. We are just a recommending body on this. Village Council has final jurisdiction. And with that, we'll turn it over to staff.
All right. Thank you, Chair Bradley. As Chair Bradley just explained, the applicant's proposing consolidation of two existing lots into a single lot of record and is before the ZBA this evening seeking a recommendation of approval for the two variations for which the council does have final jurisdiction. The site is located on the east side of Foxdale between El Dorado and Tower. It's zoned R5 single-family residential and currently consists of two nearly equally sized buildable lots, each measuring approximately 7,500 square feet and 50 feet in width. Neighboring lots to the north, south, and west are also zoned for the smaller lot sizes called for in the R5 district with a minimum lot area of 8,400 square feet. And lots to the east are zoned for slightly larger lots in the R4 district, which require a minimum lot area of 12,600 square feet. Each of the existing lots contains a two-story residence currently, as well as a detached garage. This is a photo of the site taken in December. 833 is on the left, and 829 Foxdale is seen on the right. The applicant currently resides at 833 Foxdale, which they acquired in 2005. They subsequently acquired the adjacent parcel in 2024. The applicant has received a demolition permit to remove the residence at 829 Foxdale, which was approved by the Historic Preservation Commission back in May without delay. The consolidation of the two existing parcels would create a single buildable lot measuring nearly 15,000 square feet. Now, the proposed consolidation is identified here on the right in a neighborhood view, and then the plat itself is seen in the image on the left. The applicant, as explained in their materials, does intend to build an addition on the south side of the existing residence at 833 and replace the existing detached garages with a new detached garage in the southeast corner of the proposed lot. Now, during construction of the addition, the applicant plans to maintain both of the existing garages for vehicle storage, as well as storage of salvage building materials from the residence at 829. Plans for this proposed addition have not been provided. As of yet, the applicant is simply describing their intent for the consolidated lot. The consolidation does comply with the minimum zoning standards, including lot area, average lot width, lot depth. It would eliminate 2 non-conforming lots and create 1 conforming lot. There is not a maximum lot area. However, if a consolidation would result in a lot that is more than 2 times the minimum required lot size or more than 2 times the minimum required average lot width, a special use permit would be required. Such applications are reviewed by the Plan Commission and with final jurisdiction by the Village Council. Those applications do not come before the Zoning Board. This particular request or consolidation does not require a special use permit. However, the consolidation does create the need for 2 zoning variations. The larger lot renders the existing residence that is to remain, which is set back approximately 7.5 feet from the north property line, non-conforming with the new minimum required side yard setback of 12 feet. So the existing improvements are deficient by approximately 4.5 feet or 37% for that new increased side yard. A variation from the building line articulation requirement is also required. The north building walls of 833 Foxdale do not provide the required articulation. The north side building walls at a length of 45 feet do not provide the 18-inch articulation that is required. The existing residence actually does comply with the building line articulation on the south side, which is the minimum side yard currently, but with the consolidation, the minimum side yard is then flipped to the north, hence the non-conforming unarticulated north side building walls. The table 4 here on the right highlights 1 existing nonconformity that would be eliminated with the proposed consolidation. The existing improvements at 833 currently exceed the impermeable lot coverage. As I previously mentioned, the Historic Preservation Commission did review the demolition permit, approved that without delay. The Plan Commission considered this consolidation as well as the relief that's necessary on December 17th. They heard from 2 members of the public and they discussed the request and the impact the consolidation would have on the unique character of Foxdale and the availability of housing in the denser R5 district. Some members commented that the addition proposed by the applicant would maintain the character of the neighborhood, more in character, I should say, than construction of 2 new homes. The commission was initially split and continued its discussion, which then focused on the consistency with the comprehensive plan, the consolidation with the comprehensive plan. Ultimately, the Plan Commission did recommend denial by a vote of 5-3. I would point out that the Zoning Board is not reviewing this request for consistency with the comprehensive plan. The Zoning Board is strictly reviewing this for the zoning variations and considering those 8 standards. Since posting of the packet, staff has received several emails and letters of correspondence regarding this request. Those have been provided for you on the dais this evening. Several of them were also previously emailed to you earlier this afternoon. Others we weren't able to send out in time, but we have provided a hard copy for you. So this evening, after hearing from the applicant and the public, you can continue this item to a date certain or provide your recommendation. There is draft language provided for you on page 187 of your packet. And with that, I have nothing further unless you have questions for staff.
Thank you, Ann, as always. Is there any questions for staff? Just want to clarify the 1.5 times minimum lot depth that would have triggered the special use in this instance would be set at 16,800 square feet.
Right. Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Or the lot width, if it was more than 120 feet in width,
Got it.
that would also trigger that.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. The applicant's representatives here tonight. You guys want to come forward? We'll swear you in. Anyone that's going to speak on it, I should say. Raise your right hand. You promise the testimony you'll give tonight to this board shall be the truth?
Yes.
And your name, please, for the record?
Chip Hackley, Hackley and Associates Architects. I'm the architect for Steve and Deanna Need at 833 Foxdale.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you. As always, Ann did a very nice job summarizing everything. This is somewhat of a technicality, just based on maybe a bit of a chicken and egg situation, you know, what comes first, zoning or the consolidation. I think they both really kind of need each other. But as Ann mentioned, the house currently sits non-conforming by about 6 inches on the north side. And once the lots are consolidated, if they're consolidated, we are required to have larger side yard setbacks, which puts the existing north side of the house, which we don't want to take down, out of conformance by another 4 feet. The plan that we have been talking about is to maintain the existing house at 833, take down the house at 829, and expand 833 for the family's continued use. This also eliminates a rather narrow shared driveway condition, which is pretty unfavorable. The Needs have dealt with it for many years and, you know, worked it out with their neighbors. But really, you know, this is a situation where we have nothing changing on the north side except for this imaginary line that is a result of this consolidation if it were to occur. Currently, well, Ann mentioned all this. I'm not going to reiterate the non-conforming lots component. Our intent is really to maintain the continuity and contextual aspect of Foxdale. These lots could very easily take a house that's much taller, much broader facing the street. Both of them could. I think it would probably be an increase in the mass as we see things that get changed around town and how they're changed and how we don't have a whole lot of control over that. Our intent is, I think all of you know, is always to maintain that contextuality really in rhythm with what's going on, you know, up and down the street. And we can do that with additions. We can do that with new homes as well. But we haven't shared any of the design. I mean, we really haven't gone that far with it, but I don't know if anybody is interested in seeing what we're...
Yeah, none of it's been shared with us.
Okay. We just have a front elevation. We don't have floor plans resolved. We're just really looking at the context. The left side is the house that's to remain, and for the right side is the addition. And we're going to really, what we'd like to do is do a transverse gable so that we can break down the scale even more rather than having a large, massive roof, a lower roof line in between the two forms, and a point of entry with some nice solid void relationships with the porch. Get a little undulation on the front side because we can't have it on the north side. But again, this is just preliminary. We're not going to take this too far because we don't know, where it's going to go.
Sure. Okay, do you want to get into some questions?
Sure.
Does that make sense? I have a few, but why don't we, do you want to start down there, Mike? Do you have any questions? You have no questions? Okay. Why don't we, Catherine, you have any questions? Wow, okay. Mike?
So this that just hit our desk, this comes with, obviously this is not what's in front of us. Can I ask, does this assume any further variations?
There would be no further variations
Okay,
required.
I don't know if you said that, I could kind of barely hear you.
Well,
but-
maybe I could address kind of what you're talking, maybe what you're thinking. Currently, on the south side, the existing house, 829, the one that would be taken down, is 12 feet from the next house further south. And in this addition that, you see the automobile there? The south face of those porch columns would be 24-foot 4 from that neighboring house. So we get some relief there. And part of that is a result of the fact that that south lot line, the south setback would be required to be 18 feet.
Okay,
And currently, that house at 829 sits 8'6" from the property line, so little breathing room.
any mention to the east side on the back? We're just seeing a one-page front.
Yeah, it's not going to go, there's no issue with setbacks or anything there. We're limited by square footage and coverage and so forth.
Thank you.
Mark, any questions?
Just a quick one, just to help me understand. So the articulation element of the north side occurs because of the flip from the south side to the north side. I presume that when I looked at the existing north side elevation and I look at just the design of the overall house on the north side, it looks like from this drawing here, your intent is to continue the character of and mimic that character. So the north side facing that has a little bit of the barn or the Dutch,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. You're carrying those design elements across the whole addition, is that correct?
Yeah, the roof slopes, scale, proportion, all that. Really working off of the existing details. We want to improve some of the details as well. Some of them have been flattened out over the years with some changes that have been made. But enhance the character of the house and, in an appropriate way.
Sure, and as you pointed out, you said 24 feet is going to be the distance to the south property line? Is that-
Not to the property line, the distance between the house that'll remain south of 829, the neighbor. So when 829 comes down, which is currently 12 feet from that house, the proposed would be another 12'4" away from that house. So we get a total of 24.
So that wall of the house that's being torn down, the new wall will be 12 feet to the north of
Correct.
that?
Yes.
And then what would the total side lot be then at that point? Do you have that?
Side lot would be 18 feet. Well, 18, 24, you mean the physical space between the buildings or the actual
No,
setback?
the distance from your south, that pillar there on the south to the property line.
That would be,
Or like 18 or something like that?
yeah, I don't have that number on here, a little more than 18, 20. probably 21 at the most.
Okay,
House to lot line, yeah.
okay, all right, thanks. That's all I have at the moment.
Okay. So when I look at our standards, I'm asking for your help to understand why not creating the zoning relief here will create a situation where 833 is unable to yield a reasonable return. Foxdale is not just this house, the street is existing non-conforming. On the west side of the street, there is not a house that conforms to our minimum lot area. On the right side, on the east side of the street, there are 2 houses that exceed or establish at least what you would deem to be sort of what you're doing or what you're doing plus a little more. I think there's 2 houses that are larger than 11,000 square feet. One of them is effectively what you're doing, 100 by 150. Every other house on that street is existing non-conforming. And so in granting, while I can appreciate and we love bringing non-compliance into compliance, and this slide does say that this would be an otherwise compliant lot if consolidated, the fact that it is triggering zoning relief as opposed to being a vacant lot, I need to understand why that satisfies our first standard, that this house, 833, could not otherwise get a reasonable return, just as 829 got a reasonable return as it was sold to the needs in 2024. Help me understand how that first standard is met, and second, how the second standard is met, that this plight is due to the unique circumstances of the owner and the property, when we have as ample evidence that every house on that street is effectively existing non-conforming, would have the same encumbrance on it.
Well, in regard to your first question, I think the most important consideration for a reasonable return is how the lot is used. The shared driveway is literally split right down the property line. It's a dangerous situation. It's an uncomfortable situation. It's something that, I know the village does not want to have stick around if possible. Forcing separate driveways on the individual lots, well, first of all, it's not possible right now because of the placement of 833 and 829. But it's what I would call a minimum standard of Winnetka standards, call it, whether it's Foxdale or whatever street.
Minimum standard to have a driveway?
To have a driveway that you don't have to share with a neighbor.
I share my driveway with my neighbor. I'm just, I understand
is it
it's not.
preferred?
Well, of course not, but that was
Well,
the
that's
reasonable
that's the
return I
point.
got in the value of my house.
I think that diminishes the reasonable return.
Okay, so this is firstly about the elimination, and this was part of your email, I'm sorry, your memo that was included in our packet that was not sufficiently sort of addressed at the Plan Commission, is the driveway creates a unique situation, not only for Foxdale, but within Winnetka, that has otherwise limited what could be done on the property if it weren't there. And you've got testimony, and we believe that there's some advice towards eliminating shared driveways and those types of unique situations whenever they are able to be taken care of. That's what's really driving the first standard that you're saying is
Yes.
the reasonable return. Okay. Is there any, when you look at the variation, if granted, the third standard will not alter the essential character of the locality, does it give you any pause that we are creating precedent on Foxdale, that lot consolidations to create effectively R3 homes in what is predominantly an R5 and non-conforming R5 area is what's inevitably going to happen, whether it's by the needs or future neighbors acquiring properties and then coming in on the basis of the needs in non-conformity and bringing these lots into conformity? There's no concern that we're effectively going to be creating a run on pins on Foxdale to become R4 homes and have 100 by 150s?
I mean, when was the last one consolidated? 20 years ago?
I don't know.
About 20 years ago.
Okay.
No, I think it has to do with how it's handled and how the building is designed. And this is,
But there's nothing unique about 833 or 829 or 821 or any of the ones on the street. They are all, when put under a microscope, going to be existing non-conforming in some respect, whether it's the side yard setback, whether it's in the minimum lot area. And so, like almost by definition, any lot consolidation is going to trigger zoning relief that's going to be needed on it. And that zoning relief is only needed because of the lot consolidation, right? The only reason that you're here is that by putting these two lots together, it creates a larger setback on the side yard that 833 can't satisfy if you intend to maintain that house, right? If you were going to tear both houses down,
no ZBA.
then you wouldn't be before us. I would hope you
Correct.
wouldn't be before us. Okay.
I know how that goes.
Right. So the point is, you're trying to preserve 833,
Yes,
which in your argument is better than if the needs, which would be their ability by right, could try to get a lot consolidation, sell the consolidated lot, have it torn down, and put up something that is not in keeping with the character of Foxdale.
well,
That's essentially what
likelihood.
could be done if they want to. Otherwise, they could go build a bigger house in an R4 or an R3 or R2
yeah,
area.
they like where they live.
Got it.
They've been there for a long time.
Okay,
They like their house.
totally get it. Anybody else have questions for the applicant? Applicant's representative. Is the applicant here, want to speak? You have absolutely no obligation to. I just want to. Yeah, sure, come on up. Thank you, Mr. Hackley.
You want me to stay here or go there?
Yeah, wherever you want. Can I ask you to raise your right hand? You promise the testimony you'll give tonight to this board shall be the truth?
I do.
Thanks. Your name, please, for the record?
My name is Deanna Need.
Hi.
Hi. I live at 833 Foxdale. We have been there for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Our family loves it. We have loved our house. It's a historic house. We moved here when our kids were 2 and 4. They have now graduated from college.
Congrats.
And they love to come home. Our home is like our anchor. And we really want to preserve it. And we have lived with this shared driveway situation for quite some time. And we've been lucky enough to be fortunate enough to acquire the property next door, which was really a very charming house. It's a mirror image of our house. But it was not in good shape. And this was kind of a golden opportunity to resolve this shared driveway situation. So thank you for considering it, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Ms. Need? All right, thank you so much for being here. Okay, seeing a number of members of the public here tonight, I don't know who's here for what. So if you'd like to give public comment on this application, raise your hand. Let me just see the number. Okay. Great. It's like you guys just went that way. Anybody wants to, come on up.
Open mic.
How are you?
Good. How are you all?
Good. Let me just, actually, anybody who intends
You got to
to
swear
give-
us in.
Yeah, anybody who
Yeah.
intends to, let me just get you to raise your hand. You promise the testimony you give tonight to this board shall be the truth?
Yes.
Wonderful. Your name for the record?
Andy Kripe. Hey, Ann.
Thank you. What's your
How are
public
you?
comment?
What's that?
Go ahead with your public comment.
All right. So, in my years as a member of the zoning board and 4 terms as a trustee, I never read off a piece of paper, but I want to get this right. I owned this house for 10 years, from 2005 to 2015, and we had the good fortune of living right next to the Needs. And we brought 3 of our children home to this house. And so there is an emotional attachment, but I'm not an emotional guy. My wife is. I'm here to actually tell you why this is the right thing to do. Grant the consolidation request. I consider myself sort of an expert on this house and all of its flaws, which are substantial. Like a lot of houses in Winnetka, it has very substantial plumbing, electrical, mechanical, structural issues. It has a substandard addition. I don't know how it's still standing. It looks very nice from the exterior. That was by design. We did our best to kind of, duct tape the thing together and keep it looking fine. But there are some, to the question about the unique condition of the property, it goes beyond the normal Winnetka shared driveway situation, and I'm not sure that's been highlighted in enough detail. This is only an 8-foot driveway. Both houses are built right up to the stupid driveway. If there were a fire in either garage or in the kitchens in the back of the house, you would not be able to get emergency equipment back there to put that fire out. And I remember that becoming very apparent to me, actually, shortly after we moved into that house, and a neighbor not very far away had that exact same thing happen. They had a kitchen fire and the house burned down. And I remember sitting there on the back porch thinking, how the hell is a fire truck going to get through here? And it can't. It's extremely difficult to maneuver because it is so narrow. We were extraordinarily fortunate to have the needs as neighbors. We had 4 young kids. They had 2 young kids. Now, if you think about a shared driveway situation, you don't know, when your kids are outside, you don't know when the neighbor's kids are outside. They were incredible at trying to manage that, but it's very dangerous. The other thing that's unique about this particular shared driveway is it drops off. There's no visibility. In fact, it's even worse when you're going forward than when you're going backwards, because at least now with modern cars going backwards, you have a camera. Going forward, you do not. And God help, if anyone ever bought this house and had little kids and moved in there, it would be a tragedy waiting to happen. So those are some of the unique conditions about the house. They're taking 2 non-conforming lots. They're making a conforming lot that actually fits the character of houses just immediately next to it on the same block. I think there's 2 houses that each have a 100-foot wide lot on that same side of the street on Foxdale. They fit nicely with the character of the neighborhood. So the bottom line is you can't fix 829 as is. I mean, it's, we realized this in 2015. We would have loved to have stayed. We loved living next to the needs. But you couldn't invest in the house in the way that needed to be done to make it viable. The needs have been doing that work and are going to continue doing that work to their house. So at least one of these twin houses will survive. And we kind of view the 2 of them together as our family home, not this one, okay? And so if you want to preserve the integrity and the character of the neighborhood, you grant the consolidation request. You give them what they're, asking for in terms of that consolidation. I have total confidence, this is a quarter century of history between these 2 houses that we have. They will be good stewards of it. And at the end of the day, the character of the block is about more than the house. It's about the people that live there. And the needs are the essential character of this block. So I hope you grant it. Happy to answer any questions. It's a nice house, but it needs to go.
Thank you very much for your public comment. Anybody else?
I'm Jason Alcorn. I live to the house to the north that would be affected by this
House to the north of 833.
of 833, yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not changing anything, no big deal. The houses are all tight on Foxdale. That's how they are. They're non-conforming. And as long as they're not changing that, no problems. It sounds like the architectural plans, as stated before, are going to, keep with the style of the house, and, it's going to fit in on the block. It's just going to continue that classic architecture that they have. I completely agree with Mr. Kripe's analysis of that house, that it's my understanding it's already been slated to be torn down. It's already been approved to be torn down. I guess one of my questions to you guys, if we're only talking about the rigid standards that have to be met,
That's all we're talking about.
yes. What happens in the situation where this house is, it's a tear down, it needs to be torn down? What happens with that shared driveway situation? How do you sell that land, and then does Winnetka allow a builder to come in and build using that same? Doesn't that make it more non-conforming? Doesn't that create a situation where it creates an issue, an encumbrance on the house sharing the drive that did before, based on how close that the new house would be? It would be a variation, or possibly Winnetka would have to grant a variation on the other side to back it off of that. What do you do in a situation when you have a shared driveway and one of the houses has to go, and now it's an empty lot, and you're putting something else up? That is what this is going to bring it into conformity. It's going to make it work, instead of having two non-conforming lots that are affected by being forced to use this driveway. That's how I see it.
Thank you for your public comment. Anybody else? No obligation to? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Evan Meister. I live at 825 Foxdale with my wife and two sons, so I share a property line just to the south
Yep.
of 829 Foxdale. And while I am not a zoning attorney, I didn't have the opportunity to share public comment in December, but I would say that I'm slightly qualified, having for the last 20 years built commercially throughout Chicago, including having won a number of preservation awards, both from the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. When you think about preservation and character of a street, I don't think we could have two better stewards than the Needs. I was in 829 yesterday, actually, with my boys. They have meticulously gone through with their architect and identified everything that they want to salvage from the home and that they want to put back into the new home. Again, I understand that this does not apply directly to the decision that you guys are making, but I have heard some of the concerns about the character of the street. If you've driven down it, I would argue, what is the character of the street? I think Jason rightly pointed out, or maybe it was the other gentleman, that it's about the people who live in it. But it's an eclectic street. Frankly, it's made up of, it's a mishmash of different style of architecture from different periods. And I would argue that if we don't approve something like this, it will end up in the hands of a spec developer, which we've already had two of on our street. And unfortunately, they have not contributed to the character of a street, if you want to talk from an architectural perspective. In fact, we've had to have someone come back and make an addition in terms of an elevator. So at the end of the day, I think we have amazing stewards, incredible neighbors. I actually think it'll improve the character of the street because, as you heard from the other speakers, 829 is in disrepair. Unfortunately, the most recent owner just did not take care of the home, was not in a position to take care of the home. And I think what we're going to do here, if you grant the consolidation, is do something better for this great community and for the street of Foxdale.
Thank you for your public comment. Go ahead. That's what it's here for.
Hi, I'm Christina Kripe. I also lived for 10 years at 829 Foxdale, and while I'm very apprehensive about speaking, I feel strongly about the Needs having this opportunity to consolidate the lots. I will just say that all this commentary is so lovely, but when we were living on Foxdale at one point, there was a home that had a tarp on the roof for many years, and this will be so contrary to what that was. I just think it will contribute to the overall beautiful aura of the town and everything else, and I just think you should approve this consolidation because I know that they will take such wonderful care of that home for many years to come.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment, bring it in for deliberation. Okay, so just so everybody's sure of what we're looking at in tonight's recommendations, because again, we're just a recommending body on this, ultimately to the village council for final jurisdiction. There's the zoning variations that would be coming forward as a result of the lot consolidations into a single lot of record, observing less than the minimum required side yard setback on the north property line of 833. As we all know, that's existing there in the footprint of the existing house, and then not providing the required building line articulation along that same north side wall, again, existing non-conforming from the 833 structure. So if you look to our standards, which are included on page, thanks, just to have them in front of you, because I'd like to make sure that we stay focused on the standards. Who would like to start us off with where their heads are at?
I can give a comment or two. if
Thanks,
you like.
Mark.
All right. Yeah, I looked across the standards, and as you were probing, the ones that or the first and second are the ones that I had to run through my mind about, and I think the property in question, at least if I look at the separate property to the south, it is in disrepair. It does have a shared driveway. To maintain it as a home on its own in the alternative would be at some expense that, with their testimony, would not be worth it, and to tear it down would result, if it was a separate house, in something that would be challenged by the shared driveway and the nonconformity. And so I weigh that in when I look at about the property in question yielding a reasonable return if being used only under the conditions in that zone. That is, if it was forced to be either renovated or maintained, or was torn down and then was forced to conform with the substandard size of the lot, you know, I'm not sure exactly how that would be accomplished. So there are somewhat unique circumstances there as well, associated with the character and nature of the property and the nature of those two properties. So I was able to get past any concern that I had about those standards by looking at that. If I look at then the idea of the articulation or lack thereof is currently existing. It becomes an issue because of the flip, but it doesn't change anything that's physically present on the street. Nor does the fact that leaving the existing home to the north now is a problem from a side yard setback, but the alternative is to tear down both buildings and build something new, which undoubtedly then would it would be different. You could build it away from the edges, but it would then, we risk the character of the neighborhood. And I don't want to take too much into consideration in terms of these plans, but I did take note that, just a side note, that they are maintaining the character of the two properties. Even at least what's before us here, almost looks like two homes, and they just filled the driveway in between the two homes, so it almost has an appearance from the street of looking like the existing homes, but then creating more air and light to the south than was previously existing. While, you know, our approval is not conditioned on this particular plan here.
Right.
But I felt that I would at least take note of that and raise it, even though I can get past, in my view, the questionable standards or the standards that are most troublesome without taking any account of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm leaning toward a yes.
Okay, good. Mike? Oh, I meant this mic. No, let's go.
Doesn't it say Michael over there?
Do
It says Mike right here.
over this way, Michael. Michael, where's your head at?
Yeah, so I really can't articulate my thoughts.
Could you speak in the mic just so we've got it for everybody?
I can't articulate my thoughts any better than Mark just did, and I agree with everything he said. I think that the first two standards are the most troublesome, but given the mitigating circumstances that Mark explained, and the potential issues that might be associated with a new home if the southernmost house is torn down, we could end up with a house that's very large and tall and does not at all meet the character of the neighborhood. This new house is very attractive. It does allow for additional green space on the south side, as Mark mentioned. I can get past the first two standards, which, as I said, I don't think it's the most clear-cut meeting of those, but I can get past that given the circumstances.
All right, so you're leaning towards.
I would be in favor.
Okay. Catherine?
Great. Yeah, so I came in here thinking that I was not leaning toward recommending because I didn't feel the standard B, the plight of the owner was due to unique circumstances. Shared driveways are very common. I live in the tree streets. I see them every day. I felt that the addition would change the character of the locality, and I was standard C. Just worried that we'd be losing that cadence of, like, you know, the equal distance between houses and the sort of the character of Foxdale, which is a really cute street. However, after listening to the testimony of the applicant and others here, I've kind of flipped on those 2 points. The 8-foot driveway sounds tight relative to the shared driveways that we do see more typically throughout the R5 neighborhoods. And then I've been moved by what people have said about the architecture, the plan for building, you know, something that really maintains the character of the existing homes. The fact that the neighbors to the north and south are in support of this get me comfortable around the continued nonconformity around lack of articulation and the side yard setback. So that's where I'm landing.
Okay. Thank you. Mike? The other Mike? The lesser? Mike the lesser?
The real Mike.
Not the Michael.
Okay, so for me, when we're talking about the standards, there's 3. Can't yield a reasonable return, essential character of locality, and then we get into taxable value, because there was some public comment in the way of written comment, people that can't be here, that did talk about bigger homes on Foxdale and the taxes are just going to go up and things like that. But what I would say is, I'm looking at this as there's 3 options here, which is tear both houses down, and you do probably end up with some of the bigger, not essential character homes that have been built on Foxdale. Tear one down, and the 833 just kind of has a bigger lot, which I don't even see that being an option. Or doing this, and I think this, I think the essential character, you know, the plans they put in front of us, which we're not like approving those or whatever, but I think it made a big difference for me, seeing that and hearing that someone is going to, yes, get a bigger house out of this, but there's going to be the shared driveway thing, there's the safety piece that public comment mentioned. When we're talking about reasonable return of the options of what the future looks like for one or both of these lots, I pretty much got to the point that I'm in favor of this. So I think it covers the standards. There's of our standards, there's 3 that I mentioned that are in question, but everything said, everything talked about, and the other options for this, this is by far the best option for these 2 lots.
Okay. Let me put my thoughts together. When you look at the zoning relief that's being requested here, against the standards, I do agree the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. The variation, if granted. The variation here is a variation on the north setback of 833. That variation will not change the locality, because everybody, whether they're here or not, on Foxdale has effectively this same issue. It's just existing non-conforming. So when I look at the 3rd standard, the variation will not change the essential character of the locality. What will change the essential nature of the locality is not what's before us at the zoning. That's what's before the Plan Commission, and they were rightly heard on that, is that we do have a lot consolidation problem in Winnetka. The Plan Commission's job is to consider the diversity of housing stock, to consider that we do protect and preserve each of our R zones, and R5 is absolutely, if you were going to be in the business of looking to consolidate pins and overbuild in our village, Buck would say you'd start in the R5 versus the R1 and the R2. Obviously, we see it happen in all settings, but we have an issue. It may not be known to everybody who's not coming to these meetings on a regular basis, but we do have a consolidation problem. The idea that somebody's going to just come in and build something, you know, ostentatious or beyond what the zoning code allows, that's what we're here for. And frankly, if they were to have threatened or said, you know, we'll just sell these 2 lots to somebody who's going to tear them down, which would be their right, and come back in with a lot consolidation to create just a proposed lot that doesn't have any encumbrance of zoning need on it right now, then, and go build to whatever is allowed by right in that regard, our hands would be tied, but any bit of zoning relief would be smacked down. We've already done that, and we would continue to do that. Here, the effort to try and preserve 833 and sort of take it south into the 829 area, I do believe, I sort of agree, will be in keeping with the character of the locality, even though Foxdale, by definition, is existing non-conforming. Like, that's essentially conforming, right? Like, conforming is to be out of lockstep with our zoning code. To bring you guys into compliance actually in this weird way, like a, you know, pseudo world, Bizarro Jerry, creates, you know, the odd one of the bunch. And I do worry about the run on lot consolidations, particularly in the R5. This is 2 properties that are owned by the same owner, and so, you know, theoretically they could grant themselves easement, or they could do a sale of half of 829 to 833 in order to create something smaller in order to keep with the spirit of what's on the block, which is R5 50 by 150 lots, not 100 by 150. That is not what is to be found in Foxdale. So, but the Plan Commission did their part there. We're doing the zoning, and I do believe that the standards that we look at, particular to the variances that we're granting here, are met. So the challenge then is for the village council to say it conforms to zoning, it doesn't conform to the Plan Commission, and what it is that we may or may not want to do in terms of encouraging lot consolidations, and make a determination as to whether or not they want to preserve and protect R5 homes in an area like Foxdale, which is historic. These are all 100-year-old homes. We either care to protect and preserve those, or we've generated the playbook. And the playbook will be in the R5, not that the needs are doing this, but somebody's going to come in, buy a home, wait on it, let it become in disrepair, not maintain it, let it become, you know, essentially unsalvageable, existing non-conforming, and then try to come in for, play the long game and try to come in for a lot consolidation and a rebuild. So that's up to the village council to decide whether or not they want to make a first impression on this, because the lot consolidation over the 1.5 size triggering the special use, I think that was a good first step. We all know what's triggered that if you've been following the news. But you know, it may well be that we need to consider some other things. We have minimums for lot sizes. We don't have maximums. So when you tip out of the R5 and into the minimum area for an R4, does that not establish the max that we should have in an R5 before it's losing its balance in terms of what's supposed to be there? We certainly don't want to see, you know, all the minimums met, but the maximums to the point where we don't have an understanding of what type of zoning map we're creating with our inventory. That's, I'll get off my soapbox, but I want that on the record so that the village council knows when they get this, they're getting a no from the Plan Commission in terms of what lot consolidation means in this instance, and they're getting a yes from the zoning specifically on what these variances trigger. We're not overextending into the Plan Commission's mandate. So, but it sounds like we do have the votes here, so in that way, I am supportive of this. I do believe the first standard, the reasonable return standard, is difficult to be met because the reasonable return can always be met. You just acquired the property 2 years ago. 833 could absolutely be sold, and you could absolutely see a reasonable return on it in the 25 years that you've since lived there. There are plenty of families that are trying to come into Winnetka and wouldn't mind a driveway, period. Shocking to know, but there are plenty of homes in Winnetka that do not have driveways. So, like, the idea that you must have your own width and driveway in order to count it as a sort of standard house in Winnetka, I'm not sure I buy that. But I do believe all the other standards are met. So I would entertain a motion to recommend approval as included on page, help me, page 12 of our packet.
187, yep.
So moved.
That's Member Nielsen. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's Member Leister. Roll call vote, please.
Member Nielsen?
Yes.
Member Leister?
Yes.
Member Ritter? Member Haller?
Yes.
Chair Bradley?
Yes. By my count, the motion carries. Good luck with your project. Next stop is Village Council.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, if anybody is leaving, please do so quietly. Next on our agenda is case 2524 SU, otherwise known as the Winnetka Congregational Church at 725 Pine. This is a special use permit to allow a child care center to operate at that church. Village Council has final jurisdiction on this request. We'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Chair Bradley. The applicant is proposing leasing space within the existing church to jumpstart early learning services to operate a child care center within the existing church, and is before the board this evening seeking a recommendation of approval for an amendment to a special use permit for which the Village Council does have final jurisdiction. The requested amendment is to an existing special use permit that was granted in 1996 that allowed expansion of the church building and parking lot. The expansion of the church was to the north and provided new fellowship space in classrooms. That approval did not include operation of a child care center. The property is located on the northeast corner of the intersection of Pine and Prospect. Obviously, it contains the Congregational Church and an existing parking lot. The property is located in the R2 single-family residential zoning district, and it is bordered by the same to the north and the east, and R5 and R4 to the south, and R3 single-family residential to the west. As you recall from other special use permits, in addition to single-family residential uses, the R2 district does allow a limited range of additional uses with approval of a special use permit, which include churches or temples, schools, and a library. The comprehensive plan does designate the property as appropriate for institutional uses, which includes religious institutions, governmental buildings, other facilities and schools. The site is located in a residential area with the community house obviously located in close proximity. These are photos, current photos of the existing site as viewed from Prospect and Pine. The on-site parking lot is visible in the photo on the left. Now, as described by the applicant in its application materials, the proposed childcare would have 11 teachers, 1 director, and up to 64 students. The center would operate Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. For children ages 6 weeks old to 6 years old. The plan does not include any expansion of the building itself or the parking lot, nor is a playground currently proposed. As I'm sure the applicant will explain in detail, there is currently a multi-purpose room in the church that is intended to provide students the opportunity for physical activities. Should this request ultimately be approved by the Village Council and the applicant does propose a playground in the future, they would need to submit for an amendment to the special use permit. Now, child care centers are licensed and regulated by the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. The applicant has indicated that they have received preliminary approval from DCFS, so they are moving forward with their formal application process. That final approval does require approval from the village, and they also are required to provide some minor facility modifications, which I'm sure the applicant will describe in more detail. The applicant has also indicated that staff for the center will park in the existing church parking lot on the site. There are 22 spaces in the lot. 4 of those are accessible spaces, and 1 is currently occupied by the church rummage sale truck. There are also 3 spaces in the drive circle. So in addition to responding to the special use standards, the applicant has provided a traffic impact study, which they can explain in detail, as well as their anticipated drop-off and pickup procedures. The village engineer has reviewed the traffic analysis and has the following recommendations based on the information provided by the applicant. He's noted that the child care center can operate at this location with minimal overall impacts. However, it may be necessary to perform ongoing evaluation and possible modifications based on the drop-off and pickup procedures in the conditions once it is up and running. Also, appropriate staffing will be critical in reducing the potential for on-street queuing of vehicles entering the site, which could cause safety concerns at that curve there on Prospect. Parking for staff on site should be required to reduce any additional impacts to the available on-street parking. The Plan Commission considered the request on February 25th. The commission heard from 3 members of the public and received the same correspondence that is included in your packet. The commission recognized the need for childcare options for local families. Concerns expressed by the members were primarily focused around the traffic generated by drop-off and pickup and the impact of additional traffic in the immediate neighborhood there. After further discussion with the applicant on how they intend to handle the drop-off and pickup, the commission did recommend approval by a vote of 6-0 with a condition that a traffic flow plan be created by the applicant and approved by the village engineer and the police department. They are currently in the process of establishing that plan, and staff will certainly be working with them to finalize that. Part of the condition is that be provided to the village council once this application is before the council. The zoning board is to consider the 6 standards and whether or not the amendment to this existing special use does meet these 6 standards. These are on pages 216 and 217, I believe, of your packet. So after hearing from the applicant and the public, the board may decide to continue this to a date certain or provide a recommendation. The draft language is provided in your packet on pages 216 and 217. With that, I have nothing further unless you have questions for staff.
Thanks, Ann. As always, anyone have any questions for staff? Going once? Thank you. Is the applicant and the applicant's representatives here tonight? Come on forward, swear you in.
If you want to, you can get going. I'll try to get the tech going here.
Let me get you to raise your right hand. You promise the testimony you'll give tonight to this board shall be the truth?
Yes.
And your name for the record?
Amy Falkowski.
Thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you. On behalf of Winnetka Congregational Church, our senior pastor, our incoming chair of congregation, and the Space Planning Commission, and everyone else here, I just wanted to thank you for your time and dedication to this community. Give me a second. Okay. So our application for a special use permit to have a daycare at Winnetka Congregational Church is, I just want to make it very clear that it is a daycare and not a school. Last time we were here, it was not always very clear that what the difference between a daycare and a preschool. And a daycare, that major difference is that a daycare happens throughout the day. Drop-off happens in the morning at many different times, and pickup happens at different times too. Whereas a school, kids come all at the same time, and they leave all at the same time. So I just want to say that, and I'll probably say it a couple different times. Winnetka Congregational Church has been your neighbor and in this community for over 150 years. Part of being your neighbor and in this community for over 150 years, and some things you may not know about us, is that we helped create some of the things that you see every day and maybe use every single day, like the community house, Harkness House for Children, the rummage sale. If you've ever experienced our rummage sale twice a year, these things are a part of your community. We're a part of it, and we've been a great neighbor for all of those years and hope to continue to be your neighbor for that long. Prior to starting this plan, we reached out to our neighbors who live within 250 feet of us. We invited them to come to the church, take a look around at our facility, and ask us any questions they might have about the daycare. We wanted them to see what we already have. We wanted them to share any concerns that they have. And because of that, we were able to put together our traffic study. We hired someone to take a look and to see what is this going to impact. We don't want anyone to have any big concerns. Granted, they still did, as did the Planning Commission. And so we wanted to come here today again to say, please don't have concerns about the traffic study. We're prepared for this. We also know that this is something Winnetka wants and needs. We're aware of more families moving into this community with young children. We know that moms want to work or maybe take a break, and same thing with dads too. We know that this is something that the community is planning for. This is a part of your comprehensive plan. So we are trying to not only stay with what you need, but this is also something that we need. This is a part of what our mission stands for as well. Now let's get to your questions. So Jumpstart, when they get started, they're going to start small. We're looking at the infants' rooms to start out with. At their full capacity, there will only be 8 infants in total. When they get up to their full capacity at 64 children, with 11 teachers and 1 director, that will be it. This is not going to grow beyond that. All classrooms are going to be equipped with full safety and security standards, and their focus will be on the children's education at the same time as the children's safety. If you've never been to our church, this is what it looks like when you pull up into our circle driveway. Currently, there's a keypad entrance that is always locked. Jumpstart will have the same type of entrance, so they have to be key coded to get in. Once you get into the building, they will also have another set of key code entrances or fob entrances, so no one can just walk in off the street. They will have a certain security within their building as well, or within their rooms as well, including panic buttons and other security systems too. Side note, I used to be an Associate Dean of Budget and Administration at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. The School of the Art Institute of Chicago has 11 buildings. I sat on a commission and committee meetings where we dealt with live action situations with active shooting. We had to deal with CPD and fire department as well. I'm very well versed in how to deal with any sort of situation that comes our way. And so these are things that I will also share with Victor, who is here today too. So not only will they have security locked down, but they also have it from our side of the building as well. So their own operations is how they will operate between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. or 6:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. I'll let Victor clarify that. They will serve infants through 6 years old. A playground is not required of DCFS. They have their professionally staffed and regulation under DCFS, which I also said 11 teachers and 1 director who will be there, not all at one time. So they will not be occupying all of those 12 parking spaces at one time. They have teachers in the morning, teachers in the afternoon, and teachers in the daytime. So they're not going to be taking up all of our parking spaces at one time where we have to then try to figure out where we're going. Our staff is teeny. Trust me, I know this. On Mondays, I'm there. Our senior pastor is there, not all day, and our associate pastor is there. That's who's there on Mondays, with an occasional church member who comes in, again, not all day. So we have a large enough parking lot to be able to handle everybody. Their drop-off and pickup, which we'll get into in a little bit, is a very well-oiled machine. Jumpstart has 2 other facilities in the city that they are able to manage very, very easily and efficiently. And again, that indoor-outdoor, you might be thinking to yourself, well, when my kids went to daycare, they had a playground. Why don't we need a daycare? Or I'm sorry, we do need a daycare. Why don't we need a playground? We have some outdoor space in our back. We've got this beautiful patio that they can have lunch in and when the weather is nice. But we also have this gym inside. Again, if you've never been inside of our building or never really took a look at it because it's so far back, you know, from the street, you can see on the back end, we've got this massive gym. Our gym is very well, or substantial enough for the kids to use their large motor skills, and DCFS has already said this space is perfect for the kids. I know I'm talking very fast. Because we don't require any sort of exterior changes to our building, we just need some minor interior changes. So some of our doors don't have push bar handles. Well, that will be changed. We have, in order for them to meet their capacity, we have a kitchenette that will be converted into a bathroom. These are really small changes. That's not anything that's going to require, you know, conforming neighborhoods or anything like that. It's very super simple. Having this daycare in our neighborhood as an addition to what we need and what Winnetka needs also brings more vitality to the neighborhood. It's very robust at this point, but this also could create more jobs for people looking for jobs in the neighborhood. This could be more patronage to the businesses that are coming in. We do know that One Winnetka is coming up, and we're very well aware of that. But that also would be patronizing the businesses that are going into that business as well. So this does bring more to what we have going on here as well. So DCFS, I've said that a lot. We've already had them come through. They've been through our building. They love our building. They've looked at what we have, and again, I said we need some minor modifications. And once we have approval from the village, as Ann has said, then we are able to complete this whole application process with DCFS. They can't approve us unless you approve us. We held an independent traffic engineering study where they took a look at everything that we have going on. They came in December 4th of 2025. They held 2 studies between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. at the intersections of Lincoln and Prospect and Pine. They took a look at everything, and there was no significant traffic impact during peak hours. Our church is set back over 125 feet from Pine and Prospect. There's ample distance between the corner and the driveway. During the time that the study was created, there was only 1 crash in the last 5 years, and it was a side swipe. There was no pedestrian, no bicycle accidents during that time. And I'm not sure if you can see what we have going on up here, but this shows the amount of turns that come in and out during the times that they ran these studies. They also took a look at what would happen going forward until 2031. There is very little change between today and 2031. The study also anticipates that it will only be about 10% of traffic that would turn going east onto Pine. Most traffic is going to come back this way as parents will get on the train or head toward the freeway. Other significant findings that we've discovered through the study is that we have our circular driveway. As parents come in and drop their kids off, they're not going to stop. They're going to continue to go and idle on the driveway while the students are taken out, or the children are taken out of their cars, and then they will continue to go. We don't anticipate that there's going to be a lot of people parking, because that's not the plan that Jumpstart has. We plan to install signage so that we can direct that traffic, and drop-off and pick-up instructions will be sent way in advance and continuously from Jumpstart to the families so they know what to do. It's not going to be first day show up, guess what we do here. So we plan to continuously tell the families what they need to do, both coming from Jumpstart and through preparation through WCC. There's some more traffic control that I want to share with you. So again, our parking lot is definitely sufficient to accommodate what they have and what we have. Again, not all of their staff is going to be there at the same time, and not all our staff is there at the same time. Their staff may also walk if they live in the neighborhood. Their families can also walk if they live in the neighborhood. People can also take the train. Sometimes I would take the train coming from Wilmette. I'm from Wilmette. So we also have our very long driveway, the circular pattern that gets people out. They will grow, their scale will grow gradually. It's not all 64 kids at the same time. And as Ann also mentioned too, we're open to adjustments. We're not saying this is our plan and this is what we're going to do and we're never going to change. As I said from the get-go, we've been a neighbor for over 150 years and we want to be a great and gracious neighbor, and we will continue to do that. This is our report card. We have straight A's. An A is the best thing that you can get in a traffic study. This says that there is going to be very, very little change to the traffic pattern once Jumpstart starts. I thought that was kind of cool if the end of the third quarter at New Trier just happens. And now there's Jumpstart's drop off and pick up. So if you order Uber Eats or any other delivery system and you keep getting those alerts, the driver's coming, they just left, they're going to be there in a minute, that is geo-tracking. Jumpstart has the same thing. They know when the parents are right around the corner, they know when they're there. That's how they prep the kids. They know when to get the kids' shoes on, when to, get their jackets on, when to have them ready at the door. Because as soon as the parents start to get near them, they can start to prep that. Parents aren't pulling out a cell phone and texting saying, I'm coming, I'm right there, I'll be right around the corner. It's just an app and it's just an alert. So they're prepared. This helps them be efficient. This helps them everything to be smooth and really fast. They have 2 staff members who are ready to help make things get going. It's about meet and greet, it's about efficiency, and the caregiver, whoever is dropping off, does not have to park their car. This is just all very super simple. So if there's questions about that, I'm gonna let Victor talk about that because I don't run the daycare. But infants, they get clicked into their car seat, they get taken out. Again, no one's parking, no one's idling, no one's sitting there, no one's bringing their strollers in, parking things. It's very, very efficient. And again, just to reiterate, Jumpstart has 2 other facilities where this works like a dream. I'm just moving through our questions here. So we do have all of our utilities. They work 99% of the time. So our utilities, including water, sewer, electricity, the wind kind of knocked off a little bit of ours the other night, but I just flipped a switch and it went back to work. All of this works really, really well. So we're not having to redig anything. We don't have to do anything of significance to anything to the property. I'll say it again. We're not changing our footprint. We're not changing our parking. We're not doing anything that is going to look different on the outside. It all stays the same. This benefits the village in so many ways. The village needs daycare. Every daycare here has a waiting list. I've heard 30 to 90 families looking for daycare. This means that there are families that are looking for in-home daycare as an alternative. There are families that are going to Glencoe, Wilmette, Glenview. They're leaving the community. That's really challenging when you want to try to take your kids, drop them off, get to work. So we know what we need. The village knows what they need. And so this is going to solve a lot of problems. So here we are saying, this is our request. Again, with our partnership with the community, we know that we want to try to make something work here. We found Victor Cuevas, who owns and operates Jumpstart Early Learning Services. We were able to find an incredible partnership with Victor and his team, and we would like to, continue this partnership with the village.
Thank you so much. I don't know, Victor, did you want to just be available for questions? Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. Why don't we, anyone have any questions for applicant?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go ahead, Mark.
Do you anticipate that with the way that you could run the traffic patterns, and Victor, I don't know whether you'll answer this or weigh in on this or not, but would you anticipate with the 60-foot, when you're up to capacity, that you will be able to transition all these cars without a queue outside of the driveway and the circle?
Yes, because not all children are going to be dropped off at the same time. So with daycare, some can come at 7 a.m., some kids will come at, 7:30, 8 o'clock. It's not an all at one time kind of drop off. So that's how we know that they can be able to come when they need to come.
And just for a little levity, have
Sure.
you taken into consideration that grandparents don't know how to strap their kids into a car very quickly?
For sure, and I think Victor can probably,
grandparent
yes.
assistance? We just had our 7th today.
Oh,
So-
congratulations.
And I can attest that we have 3 that go up to Glencoe, who live in this town because they can't get in here.
Right.
So.
Yes. And I would imagine that the staff could probably help with strapping them in.
I'll sign up.
Kids,
I would
not the
only hold up the line. I've done it before.
Good question, Mark. Anybody else?
Can I just, you may have covered this, but could you just describe to me the traffic pattern you anticipate at drop-off and pickup? Like, where are the majority of cars coming from and heading out to?
Sure. It's still an unknown, but we would imagine that a lot of cars are going to be coming from Lincoln and then coming from Green Bay. So we really, according to the traffic pattern, we really don't see a lot of cars coming from Sheridan and up Pine. So the cars are primarily going to be coming from the west. And so we would anticipate seeing the cars that would be coming in, mostly turning from southwest, going into the parking lot. Once they're in our parking lot, we do have a substantial driveway. So even if we had, up to 10 cars in our driveway, they still wouldn't be out onto the street yet. So they could be in and coming around the circle and even making space in there without there being anything coming still out onto the street and making their way back around.
And how does the wintertime home alone house traffic factor into what you've got going on?
Well, luckily, the one-way street, if that continues, would actually work in our favor because there wouldn't be traffic that would be turning, going west or I guess kind of like northwest. So we would, it would actually keep traffic away from us. So keep doing that.
Keep doing that.
Keep doing that.
Mike?
Yeah, you mentioned, I think 8 children, and then it going to 64. Where does that number come from?
So the 8 children would be 8 infants at full capacity for the infant room. Going up to 64 children would be the infant through 6 years old.
Okay, but if there was an increase in traffic when you got to 20, 30, 40, would you just taper that? I just wonder why is it 64, not 44, not 84, or 104?
That would be capacity for DCFS
Okay.
based on on the space.
Okay. And we had a written comment talking about your traffic study not addressing Lincoln Avenue, talking about, do you want to speak to that maybe? It talks about Prospect Pine and East Elm, but not Lincoln?
When we were here for the planning commission, there's a reason why the traffic study person isn't here. He didn't answer the questions appropriately, and so we kind of fired him and are answering the questions on our own.
Okay. Okay.
Mike, you got any? All right, I'm going to ask a few. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more question. So a challenging street is coming off of Green Bay and coming up around the bend, around your facility. It is a more challenging move, especially because you're kind of blind at certain points. Do you have any alternative for flow from Green Bay Road other than using that street? Or how would you ameliorate the safety concerns coming off of Green Bay Road or going the other way, quite frankly, around your building with that increased flow of traffic? It's still, let's say, I mean, unless you've got twins, it's 64 more cars at some point in coming and 64 cars going.
Sure, we do anticipate that there will be families, so families with more than one child.
Right.
So, but I do know that
And
we're
then
not.
you've got the train and all that kind of stuff.
Of
But
course,
just,
yeah.
so I'm not suggesting that there's going to be 128 cars, coming up Pine off of Green Bay.
For sure, yeah.
Um,
So we don't anticipate that all cars are going to be coming from Green Bay through Pine Street. So we anticipate that some cars will be coming from Lincoln, some cars will be coming, maybe Oak. That's the street that I think I take. I'm sorry, I just come on autopilot again, Wilmette. That got real close. So we do anticipate that cars will be coming from many different angles and not just coming from Pine from Green Bay Road.
Okay.
So, but again, if there are any sort of issue where we feel that there are cars that are coming at too many times, or that there is a backflow and overflow, or that there's any sort of a route that is being too heavily traveled, we will most certainly take a look at that and communicate with parents on alternatives so that we're not a nuisance to the neighborhood.
And how does, if it does at all, how does your management of Sunday traffic when you have church service inform what you might expect from a traffic pattern into, toward your building and away from your building?
Sure.
You do have that benefit of that
Yes.
study, if you will.
Yes, we do. We have 0 complaints. So no one has complained about our Sunday service or any other activities that we have about any sort of traffic. We have recently, based on some comments from the planning board meeting, about turnaround in driveways. So we've reached out to our congregation to say, please stop turning around in people's driveways. They don't like it. But other than that, no one has reached out to us to say that we've created congestion within the neighborhood because of Sundays.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Matt, sorry, thank you.
No, all good. I just want to, all right, so let's just talk about since we're on the parking. 64 at max. The idea is to grow to that number, although with the authorization, I'm assuming you could start pre-selling, for lack of a better term, or start pre-credentialing who may or may not be interested in getting on the wait list and getting their spot. That information, I think, would be helpful to determine, because you don't have some sort of like admission process. What is the admission process?
Victor?
Hi, Victor Cuevas.
Hi, Victor.
Just let me say that DCFS does not give us a license for 64 right out of the gate. They open one classroom at a time.
Okay.
So our first classroom would be the infant classroom. That's 8 children. And then from there is our toddlers, twos, preschool. Just wanted to say that. What was your question again,
So
Matt?
you sort of have, you're going to have to obviously start marketing and let
Right.
people know that you're there. And then as people are signing up, is the idea that it is sort of next in the queue if they otherwise have the ability to, set up their payments? Is there any other application process that sort of gives them the assurance that they're going to be available or they're going to have a spot when you do formally open?
Yeah, I mean, besides a house application that we have, it's just really more to collect information.
Okay.
That's really the only buffer between
that-
someone starting.
That information would include an address? a home
Address, that's correct, yes,
Okay.
sir.
So on the basis of that sales drive, or the sort of wait list that you would put together, you'd have a general understanding of where people are coming from as far as
That's
their,
correct, yes,
their
sir.
address. Okay.
And also what time they'll be arriving.
Okay, so they're able to say, I would like the
Yeah.
10 o'clock drop-off or the 10:30 drop-off, or can they literally just pull up and honk the horn and you need to
Well,
recognize it's a red car and go with their kid?
On our house application, there's a section on there that asks the parents what time would they be picking up and what time would they be dropping off.
Is that a window or is it like 10:35?
It's a window, so they would say, we plan on dropping off our child at 9:30 and picking up at 4:30. And then that helps us gauge, okay, well, we're going to have parents, coming in at this time, so then we'll adjust staff for that circle to put kids in the car, get them out.
Okay.
Just so we have an
and
idea.
is there a limit to what, I know there's a limit of kids, but is there a limit to how many kids you could queue for drop-off or pickup at any one time before you're not in compliance with DCFS?
A limit, no.
In terms of who
As far as
may,
time.
so if 63 kids decided that, their parents decided we want to pick them up at 3:30 and one child was going to stay till 5, you'd have the resources and you'd be otherwise compliant with DCFS to get all 63 kids out for pickup?
That's correct.
Okay. So there's no scenario in which you're out of alignment with DCF standards for ratios of teachers, as you're calling them, to
No, sir.
students? Okay. Okay, can I just, for the record, our first standard is the establishment, the maintenance, and the operation of the special use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or general welfare. Can you talk to me just a little bit about the Jumpstart certification licensing process, background checks, hiring?
Yeah,
Who
absolutely.
it is that you find to employ for the purposes of watching our children?
Yeah, absolutely. Through DCFS, there's standards. Any employee that applies has to be a U.S. citizen, that's number one, over 18 years or older. They also have to go through an FBI background check, and they have to have their fingerprints in the Illinois database. That checks for everything, any criminal record. So anybody that works for us has to go through that process. And then also working for a child care facility, you have to be a mandated reporter. And what that is, I don't know if anybody knows, but what that is that whatever you see, you have to report
Sure.
By law. Lastly, you have to be certified in CPR and shaken baby SIDS, so that's another class. And this is all before you are employed to Jumpstart. Something that we do as a company is that all of our teachers have to have at least an associate's degree in early childhood. That's not a DCFS requirement, but that's a standard that we set for Jumpstart.
Okay, and then how often are you, so there's what's minimally required from the state and the federal levels in order to be employable by Jumpstart. What, if anything, is Jumpstart do beyond that for regular reviews to just, again, check-ins with the instructors to know and understand what may or may not be going on in their life, wellness checks and the like?
Yeah. So we have a director that's in charge of all staff. We also have an assistant director. But besides that, we do 6-month check-ins with all of our employees, just to kind of see, where they're at. Our director sits in the classroom. It's called observations, where the director sits in the classroom and kind of observes the lesson plans and the flow of the day. Also, besides that, we do professional developments, and that's once every 3 months, where we either have someone from the outside come in and do classes for our staff.
Okay. Are there moments where the teachers are isolated with children without sort of a other teacher, other director, other personnel of Jumpstart with them?
Besides being in a classroom, there's teachers and then there's teachers' aides. So teachers, they're allowed to be in a classroom, with under a certain ratio with their children. Teachers' aides are not. They have to have a teacher or a director in the classroom with them.
Okay. And then, just for the record, have you ever had any employees at Jumpstart who've been arrested?
No.
After?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just one, Victor.
Yes, sir.
So you run 3 facilities?
Two facilities, this will be my
2
third.
facilities
That's
at the
correct.
moment, and it would be 3. Is there, what is, aside from the director, what is either your role or people who would be working for you above any one of the facilities? What is their involvement? What is their role in evaluation, in monitoring? How does that work in your organization? And would that be either enhanced by having a 3rd facility, or would it be tested by having a 3rd facility?
Yeah, we also have a corporate office. The reason we have daycares is because my wife was a teacher for 10 years, and she wanted to start opening her own schools, if you will, to get kids in before they actually start actual school. So she is our executive director. So she's over all of our directors. She has a master's degree in early childhood. So that is, I won't say that's my boss, but that is my boss. And so, but we have a corporate office. So she's our executive director. I deal with all the finances and billing. We also have someone on our team that is for expansion. How do we expand the daycare? As a Winnetka resident, I picked Winnetka because I'm particular to Winnetka. But yeah, I mean, we have a corporate office that's over all of our regular employees, if you will.
Okay. So then your executive director will not only be at the corporate office, but will also
That's correct.
check in on the
That's correct.
facilities, and now would
Different
would-
days, she goes to different daycares.
would
That's
check in on this 3rd one if you
Yes, sir.
have a 3rd one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you guys so much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Great slides. Any members of the public here tonight wish to give public comment on this application? Yeah, come on. That's what we're here for. Oh, can you come forward? Sorry. I'll swear you in real quick. Promise to give the truth to this board?
I do.
Thank you so much. What's your public comment?
My name is Dave Robertson. I happen to have been here for the Sheridan Road issue, but kind of missed that. But I also happen to be a member of WCC, and I'm familiar with the parking lot that exists that was added a few years ago, as well as the parking lot outside of the community house, which has a lot of traffic of people who are coming and going for whatever reason, whether it's to drop off materials at Rummage or to drop their kids off for whatever organizations they are attending. And I can tell you that there is not, I don't see a major issue with parking, except for people who kind of double park, and other people have to slalom around them. But I think the main issue is that with the existing parking lot off of Prospect, and with the circular drive in the middle, that there's not going to be a significant, if any, problem with parking and with traffic flow. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your public comment. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Come on up.
My name's Colleen Root, and I hadn't planned to speak tonight, but my fellow congregant caused me to want to also give a testimonial. My kids live on Foxdale, and I live in East Winnetka, and I'm a proud member of the Congregational Church. And I can tell you that I make the pilgrimage from East Winnetka, near Sheridan Road on Woodland, up through Pine, and then on through to Foxdale, probably at least 2, sometimes 3 times a day. I also go to the community house. So I work rummage, and that's in the basement of the community house. And during the Christmas season, I have gone up North Prospect and around to get to Foxdale, all without any difficulty. I truly believe that we can manage the traffic patterns. My own personal testimonial is that I've never had a problem. I've never had a problem parking on Sundays, going to church. And again, I go to the gym at the community house, work rummage. It's not been difficult. So I really think that our team can manage this. And I want to thank you all for your time and your dedication. And to me, this is the way you do a special use application. And I'm very proud of our congregation in the way they've handled this. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your public comment. Anybody else? Okay, we will close public comment and bring it in for deliberation. Okay, fairly straightforward. We've got our standards. They're included in the packet on page, thank you, 11, if anybody wants to review that or reference the standards in their comments. But we're just a recommending body. Why don't we start with you, Mike? Lucky Mike on the end. Michael, please.
And then I'll agree with you this time. Yeah.
You guys are cute.
Make it good.
Turn your mic on.
Oh. Is it on now?
Yes.
Okay. I think the primary impediment to meeting most of these standards is the traffic and parking issue. And it seems to me that with the traffic impact study they've done and everything else that they've done to make sure that they can address those issues, I think it's fine. I don't have any problem with any of the standards.
Okay. Catherine?
Yes, I agree. The only standards that I was concerned about related to traffic and parking. I'm still a little nervous just because I can never find parking when I go to hometown or the post office, and that area is kind of congested already. However, it does sound like the right analysis has been done, and it's not going to make the situation any worse than it already is.
Thank you. Mike?
Yes. So, yeah, a lot of the standards talk about parking, access roads, properties in the immediate vicinity, things like that. I'm totally fine with all of those. Coming off of Lincoln and Prospect, also totally fine with those. I think the one standard D that talks about traffic congestion, again, not parking, not getting in and getting out, that kind of thing, but the congestion that leads to there. You do have the community house right there. You do have the community nursery school right there. I think I looked at that's a similar number of children going there, similar time. I think you were touching on the time drop-off. It sounds like DCFS is fine if we get to 64 and all 64 are at 8:30 and 3:30 or whatever times. But I'm questioning a little bit of the study. Again, we're talking about 3 roads mainly, Lincoln and Prospect, fine. But that Pine off of Green Bay is, that's where everyone's gonna come from. I mean, a lot of people said that. It's a choke point. And you have another school dropping there as well. I don't know, that's a little bit of where my head is at. Again, when we're talking about the standards, so much talk of parking and public health and safety and so many things that are like, check, 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 we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. And then I'm like, ugh, that choke point. I live very close by to there. I know the streets and the angles and the corners and all that kind of stuff very well. And I'm just like, what does that look like if both schools do all their drop at the same time? That's just where my head's at for right now.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that area. We host concerts at the chapel that used to be the church. Thank you very much, by the way, and thank you very much for the community center. And I'd only correct Ms. Root that she works Rummage not in the community house, but in the Harkness House, in the Harkness Outreach Center, which contains the Harkness House for Children and Rummage, and as well as now with our doing events in the chapel that are of a cultural nature, I would say. But I'm familiar with the street in front of the chapel is not where people drop off for the school. They drop off in that cramped parking lot that is the community house. And it is tough, and that road right in front of the community house is tough. But it's also one that I think people have become comfortable with navigating under those types of circumstances. They would not be adding anything more to that parking lot, certainly. We've also done things at the church, and I've been inside the church, and I've used that parking lot and that circle. It's nice and wide. It's long. The street at the intersection there, while it is a bit of a confusing intersection, the street, Lincoln, is wide there. On the chapel side is a loading zone that is rarely used. So nobody's dropping off or parking there, other than ourselves during an event. I've not seen anyone park there. So I feel that the intersection is open enough. I do have a mild concern about Pine going toward Green Bay, especially when there's cars parked on one or both sides. But I think my point of view is that, and where I bring in the history of the church, not only as a good community member for 150 years and having created other great things for our community that are central elements of our community, but also their record for dealing well with things that come up and dealing with and their respect for the community. And I think when you have something that has a certain amount of uncertainty to it, you have to make some judge of people's willingness to accommodate and work with it. And this isn't a fly-by-night organization. This is one that's a very established part of our community. So I tend to think that they're going to take care of this. I'd like to see that they plan it in such a way that they have a nice large circle. I think, I can envision how you could manage traffic through that circle and through that driveway, and even if you needed to take some advantage of the parking lot itself for people who get out of queue and start holding up the crowd, that parking lot is big enough, and my sense is that if they needed to hold a couple of spaces for certain periods of time so that people could turn around, they would likely do that. So this is clearly something that would be of benefit to our community. Sometimes things are before us and we wonder what the benefit is and who the benefit's for, but this one is one that's certainly of benefit to our community. Again, as I mentioned, 3 of my grandchildren, the one that are closest at hand, go all the way up to the TACF Center. And also I think that adding additional, so the other benefit for the community too is not only are there spaces for children, but also I'd like to think that it might not put downward pressure on the price of these things, but it wouldn't put upward pressure on the price of these things. And it is out of hand for young people who are trying to run their lives in this kind of situation. So I'm very positive about this, and I think also I like your questions of Jumpstart. I think it's important. It's important to know, that they are a responsible member as well, and that they've operated their institution in a good manner. And so I thank you for asking those questions. But I'm quite comfortable with what they've done at this point myself, and I'm quite comfortable that with the phase-in, that'll allow them to observe the traffic and adjust to the traffic, and that if there are any problems along the line that where the neighbors are concerned about things, I have some, sorry to use the word faith, but I have some faith that they will make the appropriate adjustments. So I'm in favor.
Good. Thank you guys for all those thoughtful comments. It's the benefit. I get to go last. I get to hear all of the good things and then steal them and make them my own. Okay, so I'm also in favor of recommending approval here. As the zoning board representative on the plan commission, I can at least tell you, Mark, representatives from the other school, his name is eluding me, just giving me the time. No, no.
Or you mean Harkness House for Children?
Yeah, Community House, the community house director.
No, it's not the community house. It's Harkness Outreach Center.
The nursery school.
Yeah, it's not at the community house. It's
Sorry, the
sorry.
nursery school
I
representative.
got to correct you because I'm on the board of that thing, and everybody confuses the chapel and that school as being part of the community house, and it is not part of the community house.
I appreciate being corrected. I
Yes.
really do.
Yes, do I have to correct you a third time?
No, you don't.
Okay.
The plan commission meeting had representatives from the school there to speak to the need for additional daycare solutions in Winnetka, was supportive of collaborating in this way, recognizing, again, it already has its customer base, but it is oversubscribed, and so I think that testimony was actually very impactful on me, and hopefully everybody saw that in the plan commission summary within our packet. I am worried about the choke point of Lincoln and Pine and Prospect, but I do believe, as part of the condition of our recommending on approval, just as the plan commission did, we should carry forward the traffic flow requirement that before getting that approval by the village council, that traffic flow plan has been prepared and presented so that when they do get to village council, we're talking with a bit more certainty about how they envision the flow, the communications to parents and the like, as far as how it is that they would navigate. We do know 64 is the max. So in the worst case scenario, at any one time, we would be talking about 64 plus whatever staff would need to be arriving. I do think that's probably a very edge case that we would be preparing for, but we'll leave it to them to determine what the right way to do that is. That was the only standard really that I had any question about coming into tonight. Would like to see some sort of study, or as they get going, to make some sort of formal report to what the traffic patterns have been, and once they have their membership, we'll know directly what those zip codes are, where those addresses are, so they can better plan for who's coming, and it really won't be a chance occurrence who shows up. They'll know definitively what 64 families are coming, and so, or less, and make those determinations. So, and then again, I just appreciated having it on the record. Certainly, the WCC is a 150-year-old member of our community, and we know you well. Jumpstart, we don't know as well, and so having the understanding that you're trading on the Winnetka Congregational Church's reputation in doing business inside of the school, inside of the church, we do want to have some understanding of who you are, and hopefully we'll start to know Jumpstart just as well as we know WCC. So with that, I do believe all the standards are otherwise met to my satisfaction. I would entertain a motion to approve as included on page 216 of our packet.
So moved.
That's Member Haller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Nielsen, roll call vote, please.
Member Haller?
Yes.
Member Nielsen?
Yes.
Member Leister?
Yes.
Member Ritter? And Chair Bradley?
Yes, by my count, the motion carries. Again, we're just a recommending body. Next stop would be the village council, but best of luck with your project, and hurry up, let's get going. Okay, onward to agenda item 5, new business, April 13th, regular meeting quorum check. Can we all make sure that date works for us? I think Ann had already circulated that, but I think we have some items already
We do.
set up for that. That's not spring break week, April 13th? It's our regular meeting? Okay. Everybody's good? Who's here at least? Mark, you're good? April 13th?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, sir.
All right, public comment, if anybody wishes to give public comment on anything that we didn't cover tonight. Seeing none, we will close public comment, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Member Ritter, do I have a second? Second. Member Leister, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Good night, everybody.